So the first principle that we're going to go over today is the principle of justice. What does that mean? You have to be just and fair to everyone. That there cannot be a group or a minority in society that are treated unfairly. And so we're going to talk about this, the principle of justice. Second, the principle of kindness. Those that have special needs, obviously, they need more from the society, and the society has to be there. They cannot contribute as much to society, that's okay, out of compassion and out of kindness. It is the duty of society to take care of those that need more help. They need either, they need to have special needs, or they're in a circumstance where temporarily they need help. So therefore, there's also a principle of kindness. And this is separate than justice, because if you think about it, if you just say everything should be distributed fairly to everyone, well, with this principle, it kind of balances out those that need more. And this, maybe if you put these two together, he didn't really get into this, but you want to talk about the adl more as putting things in its own place, not just distributing everything equally. We're not looking at just distributing everything equally or benefiting people being benefited very equally. This is something that we can talk about. Say you have a guest that comes over, and justice mean this, that if you have two guests, one A is just the local, I don't know, some guy you saw in the supermarket or something, you just wanted to come visit you. How would you treat them, and how kind would you be them when he's your guest? Of course, you wouldn't insult them, you'd be kind. But then the second guest would be, say you have a marja taqlid or something come to your house. How much more respect would you give? How much more, in terms of ethical behavior, would you show them? So obviously, we are looking at putting things in their proper place. That is maybe the best way that we can think about these principles, but still, we don't want to get too much into them. The author goes through them very fast, but in general, things should be balanced. It shouldn't just be equal to everyone in this way that, what about those that have special needs? What about those that have suffered and have been oppressed for a long time? And don't they need to have needs met so that they can come up in society in terms of financially? So we're looking at putting things in their proper place. Maybe this is the best way we can look at things together. And we'll talk about some of the hadith. The third is the principle of priority of spiritual benefit over material benefit. The author also talks about putting spiritual benefit before material benefit, because obviously in Islam, the world is a muqaddama, or is a prerequisite for the hereafter. We should not, as a society, we should not ruin our hereafter for a few years in this world, for a time period, a small time period for this world. Therefore, collectively, when we're talking about social ethics, we want to gain spiritually. We want to gain both spiritually and material. There's no problem with both. But if we ever have to choose, we want to, even collectively, we want to choose spiritual benefit over material benefit. And the fourth is principle of Olawiyya, meaning that the way that you should interpret justice, and we talked about putting things in their own place, is also a little bit different. See, we have, say in the United States, over 300 million people, 340 million people. Can you reach everyone? Obviously not. Those that are closest to you, you have more responsibility towards. Say, for example, those that live in your city, you're more responsible because you're more capable of reaching them than someone that's in Hawaii or someone that's in Alaska, for example. I'm not saying to neglect the Hawaiians, the Alaskans, but those that are closest to you in that society, they have a more of a duty towards them. And we have that, like as in, for example, the neighbor. We have, they're closer to you, so maybe we can understand this. What this principle is that when you prioritize those that are closer to you, those that are in your reach, you are more responsible. And that is why we see hadith about the neighbors, especially you have a jar thumma dar from Lady Fatima Zahra, praying for the neighbors before praying for her own children. So these may maybe go back to this principle of priority, that those that you are closer to, because if you don't help them, you are the one that can see and know about their needs that they have. And if you neglect them, then others might not know what they're facing, what difficulty they have. Therefore, the fourth is the principle of priority. And we're going to read a verse of the Quran about this. And especially when it comes to arham, some say, how come there's so much duties that we have to family members that are related to us, in blood relations, that you cannot ever sever ties with them, that you should first help them out, especially when it comes to even higher, even within the bloodlines. You even have ones that are in higher priority, like parents and children. And it's interesting, in Islam, parents are wajibun nafaqa and children are wajibun nafaqa. Wajibun nafaqa means that it is your obligation to take care of their financial needs to a certain degree, to a certain limit. You have to make sure that they have a home, they have a roof over their head, they have food available, they have clothes. For parents to their children, but a lot of people don't know that also for children, for their parents, it is wajib. So we understand that the principle of priority here means that even inside, when you say family, even other family members have more priority over others. Inna Allah ya'muru bil adl wal ihsan. Indeed, Allah orders justice and kindness. Acts of kindness, ihsan. So these are the two of the principles are in the Quran. The author says adl and qist are basically, so some have a difference of opinion if they're two different things, but he says basically adl and qist are the same thing. Then we have this verse about the fourth, which we talked about, the fourth principle of priority. وَأُولَى الْأَرْحَامِ بَعْضُهُمْ أَوْلَى بِبَعْضٍ فِي كِتَابِ اللَّهِ. But the blood relatives are more entitled to inherit. This is about inheritance, but in general. So some are more entitled. Olah is the word. So those of the blood relatives, some are more entitled. Some have awlawiyah. Some are in the first category of inheritance. Some are in the second category of inheritance, and some are in the third category. As you know, as long as the first category exists, it doesn't go to the second category. The first category are like spouses, children, parents. They are the first category. As long as they exist, then it does not go to the second category of inheritance, like brothers and sisters, for example. These are the laws of inheritance. So you see that when it comes to our social, even laws here, social Islamic laws, that there's awlawiyat, there's more entitlement for those that are closer. Now we're going to read some hadith. Let's talk about justice. So one of these in hadith. From Imam Ali alayhi salam. Al-adlu asasu bihi qawamul alam. Imam Ali says justice is the base that supports the whole world. So we're looking not only as a principle of social ethics, according to this, it is a principle of the universe. That justice is the base that supports the whole world. So you can imagine when you see injustice, it's going against the harmony of the entire world. Justice is the support of the masses and the beauty of the governors. Olah. Those that govern, it can be their beauty. And when they rule right and they're just to everyone, then they are beautiful. This has mafhum. So if someone is unjust towards people and frees, say, a bunch of people that should not have been freed, murderers, you understand that they are, of course, ugly. They don't have jamal. Justice is the shield of the nations. Al-adlu junnatul dual. So countries, if they want to be sheltered, the shield of them is justice. Al-adl tasluhu al-ra'iyya. Those that you govern over, they will behave righteously through justice. If you're just towards them, then you have peace. They say no justice, no peace. You see, this hadith from Imam Ali, bil-adl tasluhu al-ra'iyya. So righteously, the masses behave righteously through justice. So Allah has made justice incumbent as a source, farada says, and a source of tranquility from the hearts. When there is justice, the hearts are also tranquil. So the heart of Lady Zahra, how much injustice did she suffer and what happened to her holy heart? Justice is sweeter than water to a thirsty man. So someone that is thirsty, justice is sweeter. Justice is sweeter than honey. Some of these hadith I'm remembering now, you did mention them before. Al-adlu ahla min ash-shahad. So here it says honey, but we talked about this, they might not mean honey. Justice is sweeter than honey, or syrup, you could say. أوصيك بتقوى الله في الغنى والفقر. I advise you to be wary of your duty to Allah in wealth and poverty. When you're wealthy, don't disobey God. When you're poverty, don't lose hope and break the commands of God. And I advise you وَبِالْعَدْلِ عَلَى الصَّدِيقِ وَالْعَدُوِّ, and to be fair and be just towards the friend and foe. Now let's talk a bit about ihsan. So in an Islamic life, we are talking about treating people fairly and treating people with kindness. So let's read a little bit about those that deserve more. Sometimes God's favor in terms of rizq is more. He gives more rizq to some in terms of knowledge. He gives rizq more to some in spirituality. He gives rizq to some in money, and he wants to see what they do with it. So therefore, what should this person do now? He's a little bit more well off than others. What should he do? As-sadaqa junnatu min an-nar from Imam Ali. Sadaqah and giving charity is a shield from the fire. And we keep looking at other hadith. A lot of the ulama, especially some of the scholars that came from Najaf and they would speak, it was just hadith-based speeching, talking. Some of them would just give like 50, 60, 70 hadith in each speech. 50, 60, 70 hadith. As-sadaqa dawa'un mudji'. Charity is an effective cure. If somebody is sick, you want them to get cured fast, give charity. We have an interesting hadith, I think it's from Imam Sadiq, and the way that we envision ihsan is always that person that is more capable is helping that person that is in more need. And you're always thinking that, they're helping them out. But in the hadith, it says the opposite. It says that actually that person that is helping, that person that is giving money, that person that is giving their time, they are actually in more need of that help than that person that they're helping. They're in more need of it. And if you really think of it, it's very deep, meaning that we are all in need of good actions that are accepted. And when it comes to treating people fairly, this is something that Allah is rewards very well. So therefore, whenever you help someone out, don't think that you're putting minnat or a favor over them. You are in more need of that act of kindness, because we are living in a time period where we have a few years to live, and we need actions that are accepted to build our akhirah. So we need things to take for ourselves. So we're in more need of that, because in the hereafter, they're going to show our deeds and how much we have. And they say, oh, you help this person, you help that person. But it's not only limited to money when we say sadaqah or kindness. So when we talk about social ethics, it's not only when we talk about giving money or distributing the resources to everyone. Look at this hadith from the Holy Prophet of Islam. Verily, every single Muslim is to give in charity every single day. Every single day, the Prophet of Islam, I'm telling myself, to give charity every day. Then he says, when asked, who would be capable of such a thing? Who can be capable of giving charity every day? He said, your removal of an obstacle from the road is a charitable act. And you see people, actually very pious people, I've seen them, they're walking around and they see something in the street that can maybe damage a tire, maybe someone can slip and hurt themselves, they remove an obstacle. So this is the type of charity. Removing an obstacle from the road is a charitable act. You're guiding someone, the way is a charitable act. Irshaduk, ila tariq, guiding them, they ask you direction. If you know the right way and the correct way, give them the directions. This is charity, this is sadaqah, you're helping them out. This is a very good act. And then it says, so not only money, not only monetary. Guiding someone is a very charitable act. Visiting the sick is a charitable act. Visiting the sick, those that are sick, you visit them. Enjoining of good to others is a charitable act. Forbidding others from wrongdoing is a charitable act. And returning the greetings of peace, of salam, is sadaqah. When someone says salam to you, not only is it wajib, it's sadaqah. Alhamdulillah, we have a religion and a Lord that likes to reward us very easily. And he's looking, as one of the ulama says, he's looking for excuses to take us into heaven. This is a very good hadith. Just remember these hadiths. Kullu ma'rufin sadaqah. Every kindly act is considered charity. We are looking at a religion that is complete, a religion that is basis on adl and ihsan, as the Quran has. And we can understand, inshallah, this verse of the Quran better. Inna Allah ya'maru bil adli wal ihsan. Allah has commanded you upon justice and good conduct. If a person really sees these words of the Quran and Ahlul Bayt, it is enough for them to come into this beautiful religion.